Okay, so we've all been there, right? You're in a classroom or maybe a work meeting, and you offer an idea that just vanishes into thin air. Well, today we are diving into a powerful fix for that exact feeling. We're going to explore the work of an amazing educator, Jane Vella, and her revolutionary approach called dialogue education. Honestly, it might just change the way you think about learning forever.
But first, let's start with a feeling. A really, truly awful, energy-sucking feeling that I'm betting pretty much all of us have felt at some point, whether it's in a class, a training session, or just a team meeting.
Jane Vella actually gives this moment a name. She calls it the plop. You know the one. It's when you finally work up the courage to say something, to ask a question, or offer an idea, and you're met with absolute crickets. The person in charge just moves on like you never even spoke. You can almost hear your words hitting the floor with a thud, and you can feel the energy just drain out of the room.
If you felt that plop, you know it's so much more than just an awkward moment. Vella argues, and I think she's right, that it's a symptom of a fundamentally broken model of teaching. A model that treats adult learners like they're just empty buckets waiting for someone to pour information into them instead of active, contributing participants.
So, what's the alternative to that dreaded plop? Well, Vella proposes a complete, radical shift in how we think about it. It's all about moving away from the teacher as a lecturer and towards the teacher as a facilitator of a great conversation.
She has this brilliant analogy for it. On one side, you've got the old, what she calls the Newtonian view of teaching. It's rigid, it's predictable, it's just a one-way transfer of information. But on the other side, she proposes a quantum view. It's dynamic, it's interconnected, it's this idea that learning isn't just about getting facts, it's about the relationships that form in the room and the meaning you all create together.
And here's where Vella makes a really subtle but super important distinction. You know, you hear a lot of people talk about being learner-centered, which is great, but it can be kind of vague. She pushes us to be learning-centered. The focus isn't just on the people, it's on the process of learning itself, making sure it's focused, that it's accountable, and that absolutely everyone, including the teacher, is part of it.
Now, dialogue education is built on a solid foundation of 12 core principles. We don't have time to get into all of them today, but let's zoom in on 3 of the big ones, the foundational keys that really unlock the power of this whole approach. The very first key, the absolute bedrock of it all, is safety. It's all about creating an environment where people feel respected enough to take risks, to ask the dumb questions, and to share what they're really thinking without that fear of the plop. I mean, without safety, real, honest dialogue is pretty much impossible. Vella tells this incredible story from her work in Tanzania that just brings this to life. The women in a workshop were constantly being ignored by the men. So, the facilitator set up a safe, simulated challenge. A child is trapped in a pit, and only the women are around to help. At first, their default was, we have to go find the men. But in that protected, safe space, a totally new idea came up. One woman suggested they could tie their own shawls together to make a rope, and they did it. And that's what safety does. It gives people the space for their hidden strengths and creative solutions to finally come out.
Okay, our second key is a powerful word, praxis. Don't let the word scare you. It's actually a pretty simple and brilliant idea. It's learning by doing something, and then hitting pause to really reflect on what you just did so you can do it even better the next time. It's this continuous loop of action, reflection, and then new, smarter action.
And to see this in action, let's jump over to Nepal. A team of development workers shows up for training on this desolate mountainside. But instead of starting with a boring lecture about community building, their very first task was to physically transform an old, rundown cowshed into their own classroom. The act of building their learning space together became their first lesson. That right there is praxis, making the theory real through immediate shared action.
And that leads us perfectly to our third key, immediacy. Let's be real, adults are busy people. We are way more motivated to learn things that we can actually apply to our lives and our work, not in 6 months, but like right now.
The crucial point here is this. If what you're learning feels totally abstract and theoretical, adults will just check out. We've all done it, signed up for some course and then quietly dropped out because we just couldn't see the point. Vella says that building in that immediate practical application isn't just a nice bonus, it's absolutely essential for keeping adults in the game.
Okay, so these principles are awesome. Safety, praxis, immediacy. Sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually use them? How do you go from these cool ideas to designing a great meeting or workshop that actually works? Well, Vella gives us this super practical framework called the 7 design steps. And here's the absolute game changer. Just look at the order of these questions. Most of us, when we plan something, we start with step 6. What content do I need to cover? Vela completely flips that on its head. You start with who the learners are, why they're even here, and what for, what they're going to be able to do at the end. The actual content, that comes way later. And that simple shift, it changes everything.
And you know, when you start using a framework like this, you start asking much better questions. Vela gives this great example of designing a workshop on effective meetings. Before you even think about an agenda, this framework makes you ask the most important question of all. Does this meeting even need to happen? I mean, think about it. That one question could save us all countless hours of our lives. So when you pull all of these ideas together, creating safety, this cycle of praxis, designing for the learner first, it all really boils down to one essential transformative skill.
You know, today we only really dug into 3 of Vela's 12 core principles. But whether you're talking about principle number 1 or principle number 12, they are all designed to create one specific thing. They're all about creating a structured conversation where everyone has a voice and everyone is learning. And that includes the person who's supposed to be the teacher. The real learning doesn't come from a lecture, it happens inside the dialogue itself. It's a huge shift from teaching as telling to teaching as listening.
And that really just leaves us with a final thought. Whether you're leading a team at work, teaching a class, or maybe just trying to have a better conversation with someone in your life, what might change if you designed that interaction not around what you need to say, but around creating a space to truly listen? The answer might just surprise you.